Now, what if we took the other angle and we were the ones who got taken down to the ground? Perhaps the opponent tackled us and put us on the floor. Well, then the situation gets a little bit more ambiguous, but still pretty simple. Let's have a look at it now. Let's look at a situation where Bernardo Faria takes down Gordon Ryan and puts him straight down to the floor. Let's face the camera, guys, so we get an angle. Okay, right off the takedown, there's an opportunity for us to attack, provided we have our legs between ourselves and our opponent. I'm going to say this again because this is a key theme behind the sport of jiu-jitsu. If we're going to be in back position, we always want our legs as an intermediary or a barrier between ourselves and our opponent. I always want my legs between my upper body and my opponent's upper body. This is a key theme. Now, what if that didn't happen? What if Bernardo Faria not just took Gordon Ryan down, but actually cleared his legs and ended up across his side? Well, our first responsibility in the bottom position is always to recover our legs and get our legs back between ourselves and our opponent. So you will see, having been taken down as step number 1, Gordon Ryan's step number 2 is now to recover his legs and get out of that pin. Once his legs come around his opponent, now he has an opportunity to begin to attack. And this can be done in numerous different ways. As we saw earlier, Gordon Ryan could, for example, employ an arm lock. He could employ a strangle with his legs, the so-called triangle. He could employ some kind of sweep where he knocked his opponent over and went from bottom position to top position. We'll come back to investigate that later. But you can see what's happening. Our opponent took us down and cleared our legs. So our first responsibility is always to bring our legs back between ourselves and our opponent. And from there, if we're going to fight off our back, we're going to fight with the benefit of our legs. What is so special about the legs? What makes the legs such a big part of the sport of jiu-jitsu? Well, there's an obvious asymmetry between the strength of our legs and the strength of our upper body. When Gordon Ryan uses any form of guard against Bernardo Faria, you'll notice what's going on here is he's using his legs to wrestle his opponent's upper body. And if he can do this, locking onto his opponent and turning him over, or coming back to the same position, guys, locking up a submission hold, say a triangle, for example, he's using his legs against his opponent's upper body to create a situation where an asymmetry between his leg strength versus his opponent's upper body strength means that there's a very high likelihood of victory on his part. Remember, for a smaller person to defeat a bigger person, it's almost always going to take your legs against their arms if you're going to fight from bottom position. And that means recovering some form of guard where we can fight with our legs against our opponent's upper body. Now let's go further into this. Let's start standing again. Let's say Bernardo Faria takes Gordon Ryan down and lands straight in Gordon Ryan's guard, and Gordon snaps on an arm lock even as they land. Say, for example, Udigatami. Can you see what happened there? This is probably the shortest rendition of Jiu-Jitsu as a system. We got taken down, that's step number 1, and right from our back, step number 2, Gordon Ryan applies a nasty Udigatami arm lock where he extends his opponent's arm straight and then hyperextends it to break the arm. That took only 2 steps in order to achieve victory. Step number 1, our opponent took us down, and because he landed inside our legs, we went directly to a submission hold. And within 2 steps, we achieved victory. Now, contrast that with a situation where Bernardo Faria takes Gordon Ryan down, come to center, guys, and clears Gordon Ryan's legs. Now, step number 1, our opponent took us down to the floor. Step number 2, we need to recover our guard. Step number 3, we sweep our opponent over and achieve top position, and we end up inside our opponent's guard. Now, as we saw before, if we're on top position, we have to clear our opponent's legs. So step number 4, we clear our opponent's legs. Step number 5, we work through a hierarchy of pins, each one enabling strong punching pressure, which makes our opponent turn, and sets up step number 6, a submission hold, a strangle from the back. Finish it. Roll through, roll through. Good. And do you see how that was the longest possible method of employing the skills of jiu-jitsu? We started with a bad start to the fight. Our opponent took us down and cleared our legs. We used an escape to put him back in guard. We used our guard as a means of reversal to get top position. And then we went through the various steps of passing our opponent's guard, passing the legs in other words, working our way through a hierarchy of pins, and then finishing our opponent. That's the longest rendition that you can have of the step-by-step system of jiu-jitsu. 6 steps. So jiu-jitsu can be as short as 2 steps. Our opponent takes us down and we finish quickly with a submission hold. Or it can be as long as 6 steps. Probably the most well-known rendition of jiu-jitsu is one where we take our opponent down, and it's a 4-step system. But the application of jiu-jitsu is always somewhere, depending upon the scenario, between 2 steps and 6 steps, with the most well-known application being the 4-step top system. Once you understand jiu-jitsu in this simple step-by-step system, it starts to give a very clear sense of what we ought to be doing in any phase of combat with another unarmed single human being. Jiu-jitsu always gives a very clear sense of direction to anyone who follows its teachings. Anytime you're in a fight, you know exactly what you ought to be doing. If you're in the standing position, take your opponent down. If you can take him down, get past his legs. If you can get past his legs, work your way through a hierarchy of pins which offer greater and greater potential to strike your opponent until an opportunity presents itself to employ a submission hold. Usually a strangle is favored. If we end up in bottom position, we must first bring our legs back between ourselves and our opponent. Then we either submit them from where we are or sweep them over and take top position, and then repeat the sequence of passing the legs, going through a hierarchy of pins, and finishing them with a submission hold. This very simple but incredibly clear step-by-step system gives you the potential to understand exactly what you ought to be doing at any moment in the wild chaos of a street fight. It's a great security to know and have this very clear sense of direction as to what you ought to be doing. Fighting by its very nature is a scary and chaotic business, and to have a clear, coherent, and very simple system, knowing exactly what you ought to be doing at any moment in one of those wild and chaotic fights, is a luxury that will help you immensely if you find yourself in a street fight situation.
Sumi Gaeshi is among the most important positional moves in the sport of jiu-jitsu. It is a sweeping and throwing method that uses your legs to lift and turn an opponent onto his back so that you can get up on top of him. It works at all levels of the sport and in all weight categories. It is equally effective in both gi and no-gi jiu-jitsu. It has been used as the centerpiece of bottom guard attacks by many great athletes for generations. I believe that investing serious time in the study and practice of Sumi Gaeshi is one of the best things that you can do to improve your overall jiu-jitsu game. Sumi Gaeshi is typically employed from seated guard, usually when an opponent is on 1 or 2 knees. But, as we shall see in this video, it is also very effective even against standing opponents as well.